All right. So we are live. Let me see here. So this is Welcome to Frankenstein House. This is episode 0. This is the pilot episode. I'm Greg Alexander. I'm here with Bon. We are going to be eventually at some point in the next week or so talking about comic books specifically, but right now we are talking comic books a little bit more generally. How's quarantine holding?
Oh, it's so great. I mean, it's not like I didn't already stay inside all the time. So now we're just, supposed to, or we're going to,
Yeah, that's
people. So I'd rather stay inside.
That's been one of the things that's gotten really annoying. It's sort of like, first of all, like realizing like how much I joke about never leaving the house, but how much I actually leave the house just to go to like the store. Or like, oh hey, I would like a Diet Coke. I'm gonna walk down the street to the store. Can't do that now.
No, I'm not. Fuck.
Yeah, and now and then just like the general thing of like, yeah, I liked staying at home when it was my choice. When I have the government telling me to do it, I really don't want to.
I know, right? It's been weird because we're over on Eastern Washington, about to go back over to Western Washington, and it's a little bit different over. I don't know. I think I imagine Seattle being a little worse as far as supplies go, but from what I'm hearing, it's way worse over here.
Yeah.
Than it is over there because it's such a big area over there, and you also don't have Idaho and all those people like super close by. Like, my guns, they're taking, But it's been interesting. It's still really surreal to walk into a supermarket and be like, there's no fucking toilet paper. There's just none. Like people are still like absolutely buying the shit out. Like every time we go, we don't go very often. Like we were kind of smart. We went and like bought what we needed to survive for at least a few weeks. I'm not going to go and just like buy a shit ton of like resource stuff. I'm going to buy for what I can use because 1, I don't want stuff to go to waste. 2, I don't want to take away from like other people that need it. So and we've been doing all right with that so far. How's it been over in Seattle?
It's been all right. We have gotten into the habit, and it's the dastardly habit of Amazon Fresh.
Yeah,
because we're in one of the delivery areas, so it's like, oh, we can just avoid any contact with human beings aside from the delivery person, and all those guys are wearing like plastic gloves and face masks and stuff right now. So it feels like a genuinely safe thing. That's something I should probably warn you about, by the way, that if we're going to be doing these live streams fairly often. If you say the name of the thing that we're all inside because of, we apparently get demonetized and potentially banned.
Wait, what?
So they have like bots that are set up to basically like speech recognition bots that are set to flag any videos that mention the thing that we're.
Can we just call it the event? Like the
event happening when the trees all came for us.
Stay and remain indoors. Do not think about the event. just call it the event from now on.
Yeah.
Instead of whatever the fuck we're.
Yeah. So
we got to avoid not saying that. All right.
Yeah, so we can't say what it is, but the unnamed event that we're not allowed to talk about. So we've been getting into the Amazon Fresh thing, actually having things delivered to us. I know that you'll be in Seattle at some point in the near future. That might be
like next week, basically. Okay. It's like next weekend is when we're planning on hauling everything up and moving on out there. We're going to be over in the Greenwood area, so I'm sure that's probably by an Amazon Fresh thing.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
I was in U District and getting Amazon stuff like delivered like the same day, which is pretty awesome. So
Greenwood's a cool neighborhood. I'm actually it's actually pretty sad that you're moving there in the middle of not being able to go to all the things in the cool neighborhood.
I know, right? We're not too far from the Baranoff, and I think everyone has a story about the Baranoff, and my stories are going with the people that have been 86'd multiple times. Of course, I didn't do anything, but it's just always a story of like I had an old coworker of mine that went with a group of my friends when we went again, and like he was just like doing all the dumb things, all the wrong things, hitting on people. We had a girlfriend, just like fucking up his night, and it was just kind of. I felt bad for him, but there was just this sense of amazement of watching someone just ruin their life with having one shot of like vodka. So it was just like this movie that I just did not want to look away from. Oh my god, it sucks. You know, he's kind of my friend. He's a coworker. I feel bad for him, but I'm not stopping this. I tried. I went up like, hey man, maybe you should answer your girlfriend's text, and maybe you should stop talking to that chick like that close as you are. You know, just it's from a friend. No, man, I got this. I'm like, all right. And the next I know, he got like 86, and he like took off from the bar somewhere. So I had to actually go get his girlfriend to go find him. And it was like a 3 a.m. excursion to when it was all said and done because we couldn't find him. And so I have very awesome memories of the Baronoff, and I don't know if I'll be going back anytime soon.
Yeah, it's interesting because like you get 86 from a bar, but after a while, like people forget. People, you know, door people, bartenders, so they'll eventually forget. I was 86 from a place in Tampa for a couple of years, not because of anything I did, but because I was hanging out with somebody who did some bad stuff to the bar while drunk, like actually, like physically broke part of the building. And eventually, like, yeah, I was let back in because, like, I wasn't involved in anything. And I, in fact, stayed up 3 hours past closing, helping them, like, try to, like, duct tape a window back on. But so, yeah, people's opinions of me improved over time, especially in light of that. But, you know being 86,
Tampa, right?
This is Tampa, yeah.
Your street cred goes a long way in Tampa, so you got to repair that. Like the worst I've ever done drinking in a bar is I just drunk me no matter what. If I see a poster or a picture of something I really want, I will find a way to get it.
Yeah.
Usually by nefarious means. And usually I don't remember until like the next day, and I'm like, where the fuck did this poster come from? Oh, I have a Frank Sinatra poster that I found out of a defunct bar. I found a Jesus poster in this random this store bathroom I went on my birthday a couple years ago that I was taking a piss, look over, and it's like, Jesus says wash your hands. And I'm like, that's going in my bathroom. And it did. It's like I get drunk enough and I see like if there's like a really cool poster, first I'll try to negotiate. Like, how much do you want for that? Because I'm classy. I want to give them money for it before just drunk me blatantly rips it off, which sucks. But I mean, when I used to live next to the Monkey Bar, they always had these really cool. They had the big ass Cure poster of like Boys Don't Cry, bunch of Bauhaus stuff, all lot of cool posters. And I'm like, and I remember just getting drunk because it was like less than a block for me, being like, man, if I could only climb this pool table and grab these posters without nobody noticing. And I'm like, nah, it's too big. And we would sit there like just scheme, just kind of like, how could we do this? Like, we're gonna go Ocean's 11 on this somehow. And I'm like, it's not worth it because I can just go online and pay $5 and get it. It's like that really infamous Nick Cave poster of him like with the fuck the police or whatever on it.
Oh yeah.
That already has young Nick Cave, and they have it at the substation practice spot. The first time I went there for a practice, I saw it just right there, and I'm like, man, I really want this, but I'm not drunk. And I'm like, oh, and my friend's like, dude, you can just go buy this all night for like $10. Just go do that. I'm like, fair enough, I'll do that.
Yeah. Then you get into the problem of the drunk online purchases, and then they show up. They show up like a week and a half later, and it's like then you have even more distance in between you making a potential major decision in your life and the results showing up.
I have these like heart-shaped glasses that I ordered. I was drunk. I was playing kickball in Seattle, and I just for some reason. Because I have that fur vest I bought when I was looking at the pawn shop. That's really cool. PETA doesn't like it, but it was $20 and it's fox fur. So I had it modified into a vest. So I'm like, man, I really want these heart-shaped glasses. Where can I find this? And I'm like a bottle and a half of tequila in. So like, I'm on Amazon just being like, I'll buy these, I'll buy this. And like 2 days later, like I like wake up and I'm like on my day off and I have these packages at my door. And I'm like, the fuck did I order? Did one of the roommates order shit? I'm like, it's like 5 packages here for me. Glasses, other useless shit that I don't need, but drunk me thought it would be fun. And the glasses were like the only thing out of that entire thing that I probably still have or utilize. Everything else, I couldn't remember what the rest of the stuff is, but it was, oh yeah, like when I was super drunk at when we went and saw the Conversations with Nick Cave, and I got pretty drunk, and I bought the Roland S. Howard box set. Like as soon as we went outside, I was like, oh, this is on sale for like $115. Buy. And so I got all of his works in a box set compilation. And so yeah, like drunk alcohol versus like online purchasing, or like dreaded, like when bars, we had a bar here that used to have like a vinyl shop in the bar, and that was cancer to me because I would go in there and immediately just like, how much is that? Here's a paycheck. So drunken purchasing is absolutely a thing.
Yeah, that's honestly been one of the things. Hold on, I'm checking out our live chat on my phone right now.
Oh, we have a live chat? Where's that at? And that was cancer to me because I would go in there and immediately just like...
Yeah, so it's not that much of a delay. It's a little bit of a delay. But, yeah, so if anybody's in the chat, we have one watcher. We had 2 before, but now we have 1. If you're in there, let us know how the quality of the video is. Let us know.
Oh, this is on YouTube. There we go.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, we have 2 people now. Yeah. Wait.
These are the glasses I bought. Still have them. Still got them. It was the best.
I have a pair of American flag aviators I've just put in my Amazon cart, and I've never purchased them. But it's like, he keeps like, do you want to move this to your save list? Like, I will, but then I will move it back.
How patriotic do you have to feel? What level of patriotic do you need to get to before you just pull the gun, pull the trigger on that?
I feel like the implication of the American flag aviators are you could be like real patriotic, or you could just be real into Top Gun. Like,
and both of those are pretty valid because I think Top Gun's probably less detrimental than anything else than being super patriotic. So
yeah,
and I mean, the volleyball scene is what gets everybody. I mean, Top Gun's good movie in its own right, but it's that volleyball scene that just really cements the bond, the brotherhood, the abs. The 80s.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out like what because you've heard there's a sequel being made, right? Or a sequel has been made, and they're waiting to put it out.
Didn't they just make one though? Didn't they just do Top Gun with like Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer? So they're doing another one, right? Because they already did that. Right?
They already did it. Did it already come out?
I gotta look. I thought it did. I remember for like a long time. Now I gotta look it up. I swear to God, they did like a Top Gun 2 recently. No, I guess
it's set for June.
Okay, it's set for June.
I'm curious what Kilmer's going to be doing because, as far as I understand, he's had to have so many surgeries on his throat he can't talk now.
Yeah, no, we actually, when we went to the Kevin Smith roadshow with the James Bond, which was fucking amazing, and we thought the movie was probably only funny because we got really, really drunk watching it. So everything was funny. And then we watched it again because it's on Amazon Prime, and it was perfect. It's a funny movie, but he talked about the Val Kilmer, like how they wanted to put him in the movie. Then his agent messaged him like, hey, Val Kilmer's a lot of medical stuff. He can't talk right now. He's, very self-conscious of like himself, his weight and stuff.
Yeah.
And they're like, fuck it. Well, we have a role for him. We'll make him. Did you see the Roadshow?
Yeah. So I didn't see the. I saw the movie. He played the rebooted Silent Bob.
Yeah, so he played the rebooted Silent Bob, and it was. I guess he was so happy to be given the part and stuff. Like, the whole story was really, really touching when Kevin Smith told it about the whole Val Kilmer being involved, which was amazing. But I'm curious to see what he does in it. I'd like to see him in it.
Yeah, that's another thing that we, hopefully we'll be able to see. So that brings me to fun and interesting and horrifying news, which is comics have been canceled. So the America has, so it's not technically a monopoly in the literal sense of the term. So there's a company called Diamond Distribution. They are not the only comic book distributor in America, but they're kind of the only one that matters. So it's like one of those things where like Microsoft, remember back when Microsoft had to be like, okay, we promise to give you the option to remove Internet Explorer from our Windows system.
Yeah,
it's sort of like that, because like there's still Macs at the time. There was other computer setups, but no one had the market share that Microsoft had. And this is like a similar thing. Like anybody's pretty much entitled to start a comic book distribution company. And like there's one locally in the Pacific Northwest called Emerald Comics Distro, which is they do mostly like zine type stuff, but not exclusively. So they're not really a monopoly, but kind of in every way that matters, they're a monopoly. On
the important things.
Yeah, so that's kind of how all your comics get to the comic stores. Like it's this company called Diamond. They have big distribution centers. You print up a comic, you ship it directly to them, and they send it out to comic stores when comic stores have ordered it. So because they're in Massachusetts, they have the essential businesses only order there too. So they had to shut down their warehouse. So they're like SOL, because there's no way for them to open. There's places that don't have stay-at-home orders right now, but there's no way to open up a warehouse quickly there and ship thousands of pounds worth of product there.
Yeah.
So they're stuck for the time being until
it would have been cool to have been like let them at least get rid of all the orders that are in the warehouse. So at least they're not sitting on product.
Yeah, I think
some companies the ability to have just like shipped it out, get off. So because once it's shipped, I mean that's it. I mean it's up to UPS and whoever else is delivering the stuff. But I mean that sucks to sit on like that much product that's just going to sit there until God knows when.
Yeah, so the majority of the indie companies have been like, okay, well that's it. No comics until this is over. And then Marvel and DC have been doing things where they've basically said, we have a certain amount of things we can send to you via. So, Marvel and DC, because they need to get their stuff into bookstores, they have like a Random House and other companies like that distributing them as well. So it's like, well, we can send you stuff through Random House, we can send you stuff through Penguin, we can send stuff to you through all of these bookstore distribution places. So open up an account with them and we can get product out to you. Not a lot of stores have storefronts open right now, but they do have, they'll usually be able to have one or two people in a building in order to do things like mail order and things like that.
Yeah.
Like the Comics Dungeon in Seattle just announced that they are, they have the okay and the go ahead to be able to do mail order, because they only need 1 to 2 people in the building at the same time.
That's pretty cool. At least they're able to do that. But
the problem is like they're not getting new comics aside from situations where they're not going to be getting new comics until DC. So DC Comics is going to get this like Random House bookstore distribution network set up. Marvel doesn't have anything, and none of the indie companies seem to have anything either, which is it's kind of just shows you the
how fragile everything is.
Yeah, it's just it's one of those sort of like the limits of day-to-day capitalism. When something goes fucking wrong, it's just if there's one point of failure in a system, I mean that's kind of like that's me being on my like tech industry addled brain, but it's like never have a single point of failure. You always have multiple backups, so always have the ability to like well, if something breaks, I can do this other thing. This was a situation where there's one point of failure
that way. Shit.
Yeah,
which is which I'm really hoping after everything's settled with the event, and things drastically changed. I mean, things need to drastically change anyway. I'm excited. I'm kind of excited, kind of nervous to see what we decide to do with those changes. Because I mean, right now the power, whether we believe it or not, is the power is in everyone's hands, all the people's hands. Like we can all choose to be like, fuck you guys, we're not doing anything until this changes.
Yeah.
Fuck your company. I mean, how are you going to run it without us helping you? So, I mean, it's just, I'm really hoping that the people start like coming together, kind of stand up and be like, all right, well, we have found a lot of cool things. We found out we can all work from home. We found out that we all absolutely need better Medicare and, medical insurance. We can all actually like get a basic income. Like,
yeah.
Why do we have to wait for something catastrophic to do that? And so I'm hoping that with all this stuff, we can, fix ourselves, fix our country, fix all the shit that's wrong. And then, then we won't have a shortage of fucking comics when, the event part 2 comes out.
Yeah, so
who knows? The event part 2 may happen. There's always a sequel. There might even be a trilogy. And as long as we can get comics and the essential stuff we need with a better system in place, hey,
yeah,
that'd be cool.
It's been interesting. So like, it's I don't know. I haven't talked to too many people about this, but like my stepmom got it. Over in the UK. My stepmom works in hospitals, and this was in the general vicinity, as you probably as anybody working in the medical industry right now probably is. So my stepmom got it. Spent about 9 days. Had to be like secluded from my stepdad because he's like type 2 diabetic. Sorry, not my stepdad, my dad, because he's a type 2 diabetic and has a really compromised immune system. So, but like she was back to work on Monday and is feeling much better. So, like if you have, I guess, like a robust immune system, it's a thing you can kick with a general degree of
not being an asshole and going outside. Just listen to stay indoors,
drink a lot of water.
Yeah. Oh, I'm drinking a bunch of beer and tequila, but yeah, drink a bunch of water.
Yeah.
Stay hydrated. Eat the good things. Shit like that. Just we had neighbors that just moved out right next to us. They're right next door to us, and they just like I guess. I didn't realize they were moving out, but like the night before they did, they had this big old fucking party over there. And I'm just like looking out my window like, all right, fuck everyone in this neighborhood, I guess. I mean, shit. And it's just like shit like that. I still see cases of people like not social distancing and stuff. And which is kind of a weird thing to get in the habit of anyway. We're all so weird at being like, fuck you. We're just going to like do whatever we do. Fuck everybody else, I guess. But like, when me and my fiance we always like make sure we're like standing away from people and stuff. We'll like give people room and things like that. And I see a lot of people that just don't. Like people will just like kind of come up to us and or like come super close. I'm like, dude, come on, what the fuck? Like,
I've gotten really into the habit of like addressing people with like a hood up and like pointed my face at the floor while talking to them, like looking up with the corner of my eye. My
master says I can't talk right now.
Oh god, yeah, my like inner goth teenager is very much like is in his element right now because he gets to stare at the floor while he talks to people.
Man, it's good. It's kind of cool to hear Seattle's not as crazy over here. Like I had some friends over there. I guess it's still pretty easy to get supplies and stuff.
Yeah, they seem to really replenish shit every morning or every other morning at our local grocery store. Like the neighborhood that I live in, it's Capitol Hill, which is kind of a hipstery place. But the neighborhood that I'm specific, like the part of Capitol Hill I'm in, is very blue collar, and it seems to be like it's very like people like I need to get the essentials. I'll get my chicken. I'll get my my fresh vegetables. I'll get my frozen vegetables. It's not a lot of like I need 15 cases of toilet paper.
Like fuck like. We had a roll that we had before this all happened, and we still have like 4 or 5 rolls of that left. Like I saw a corner store by us that had just like single rolls for like $1, so I grabbed like 4 of them. I'm like, while I'm here, I might as well just grab a few just in case. But I'm never gonna be that asshole that's like, oh shit, let's grab like all these rolls. I don't want a shopper cart full of shit tickets. Like like that's such an asshole thing to do. It's just like it just drives me crazy. Like how many times you have to take a shit to use up that much to necessitate that much toilet paper? Like it's insane. Like when I lived by myself, a pack would go like a month or so at least. I mean, because you don't need that much fucking toilet paper. But it's beyond me like why somebody would need like the lost ark of toilet paper, like just a fucking like this massive amount, like they're gonna build like the Game of fucking Thrones out of these shit. I mean, like what the fuck? Who are you flexing on? Like, I mean, if things get bad, And there's people I've seen out there that like, oh, I have all this toilet paper. They like post pictures of their like supplies, and I'm like, all you're doing is you're gonna get fucking robbed when things get bad. So I mean, enjoy that. I'd rather someone breaks in my house. How much shit tickets do you have? I'm like, I got one roll, dude. All right, my bad. You guys are struggling. I'm like, yeah. I mean, so
when my partner and I got married, we I guess Sonia had a thing which they put onto our wedding registry, which was a device called a Tushy.
What the fuck?
Which is it's basically a bidet. It's a branded bidet.
Nice. We thought about getting one of those, but of course now you're just a pain in the ass to get because everyone.
Yeah. But they're I don't know. Let me see. Oh, I mean, they're saying they're gonna start shipping. Oh, they're gonna start shipping them May 15th, apparently.
I'll probably go and order one and just get one for the next month, I guess. So if anything, at least that cuts down the intake of toilet paper.
Yeah, it's they start off at like $89 for the ones you can just plug into your bathroom's piping, and then after that there's you can just do they have other ones, like they have the heated ones and they have the ones with the heated seats and shit.
They do, yeah. It gets pretty wild. I was looking at it up a while back. I'm like, wow, heated toilet seat. That's insane. And not only that, but I also get like a thing that shoots up at me and I can control the pressure and how hot or cold it is.
Yep.
I'm like, what a time to be alive. How much is it? Expensive. All right, well, what luxury. Yeah, but I mean, hell, when we get the stimulus checks, I guess we can all buy bidets. So I mean that's really what everyone should be buying. Bidets and you know, whatever else essentials, Yeah,
basically it's been really interesting to see. Oh yeah, we somehow had, I guess it's like emergency funds they had in the back pocket for emergency situations. But it's kind of ridiculous how like, oh yeah, so every American citizen who has like a tax, who paid taxes basically in 2018 is getting thousands of dollars.
We should all get thousands of dollars, not just taxpayers. Go out and give homeless people thousands of dollars. I'll do it. I don't give a shit. I'll get in a hazmat suit and be like, boom, there you go. Boom, there you go. Like get like it fucking what's his face? I just blanked on his name. The guy that used to throw glitter everywhere. He died recently.
Oh, Rip Torn?
No, not
Rip Torn.
Rip Taylor. Is it Rip Taylor or no? It's Rip. I gotta look it up now.
Is Rip Tyler maybe?
Rip
Taylor.
Yeah, Rip Taylor. Yeah. That's got to do that, except with like stimulus checks. Just be like, boom, with some glitter. Like, here you guys go. Like, go do whatever the fuck it is, but get the fuck off the streets because this is wild. Like, everybody should get it. I don't like. I mean, and everyone should get a lot more because I mean, I've seen people that will break down the cost of like the $2 trillion or whatever. We can just make numbers out of air because that's what we do. I mean, it's not like this is like we're going to some secret mine to get these precious resources to turn into money. We're just basically like, oh yeah, I guess we'll have $2 trillion to give out to people. Fuck it. Why don't you say 30 trillion? Let's go big. Let's get everyone a fucking mansion. I mean, that's like the power that, that seems to be readily available to be able to do shit like that. So I'm like, why do you gotta fuck us anyway? Get people, make sure we all have like a monthly basic income, free rent, free mortgage payments, help out the small businesses. Because I mean, if they don't have to worry about rent or mortgage, then the small businesses for the most part are going to be fine because they don't have to go under because they're not, I got to make a mortgage payment or for my asshole landlord. It's like, no, it's all frozen, dude.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. I don't know.
They're doing things for small business people, like businesses under, I think it's under like 20 people. If you have a business and you have under 20 people, you can get like a loan based off of how many people. And then if you, during while this whole thing is running, if you do not let any of your employees go, you can get that loan forgiven.
Yeah, there's a lot of things like that for a lot of businesses now. I just saw someone post a while back, same thing, basically. as long as you are showing that all the costs of the loan are going towards the payroll, the people, the business, and not like business expenditures that have nothing to do with the crisis. Yeah. So let's say I'm like, oh, I'm going to go buy a new fucking Camaro with it. No, they're not going to. But they basically have it to where they have forgiveness loans to where if you go out and spend it on your company, your employees, take care of them, at the end of that term, they just, you don't owe anything. Yep. And it's wild because we have a lot of companies here like in town that are taking great care of their employees. And we have companies that think it's super fun to just fuck over their employees, like drastically cut their pay in half or offer them like, we'll bring you back at, some odd percentage of your pay that's underneath minimum wage, which is illegal as fuck. Yeah. We have a lot of companies that are choosing to do weird, stupid shit like that. When I'm like, all you guys had to do was literally like wait a little bit. All this stuff has been talked about coming out. It's coming out. There's a lot of loans out there for businesses to where you don't have to lay off all your employees. You can still retain them, and you can even probably put them on leave with pay. And I think it's still covered under that loan to where as long as you're still after using that loan to pay your employees, pay your costs and stuff, like you don't have to pay it back. And I guess there's just a lot of people out there that are like, would rather just fuck over people than anything else. But at least the people that are getting fucked over can still get the unemployment, which is, I'm glad they did something with that because a lot of people are getting like their full wages for like 4 months and like their wait time cut down and all that shit they're doing. Like it's really cool seeing stuff like that, but it really sucks how hard some people had to fight for just to get that when they were just trying to bail out businesses.
Yeah, I mean, Christ, like probably 75% of the people I know have been laid off in the last week or two, and it's just been, if that wasn't there, I think I mean, a lot of people I know would be freaking out or taking much more drastic measures with their lives right now.
It would, and it sucks. I mean, and no economy, no country should have anything to that extreme. There's always got to be something to protect the people because without the people, you don't have anything.
Yeah.
It's cool to be as rich as you want, but I mean, you can't get that rich without people working for you and doing stuff. You can't have a government. Who are you going to govern over if nobody wants to be a part of your fucking? I mean, it just kind of shows how essential a lot of people are, and it still really pisses me off to see like, the grocery workers and stuff like that still not being. They should get a fucking hazard pay at this point. I mean, at this point, they should be getting hazard pay. They should be getting a fucking pay increase to at least 25 or so. They should be making a lot of fucking money because every day they're risking their lives. They might catch, they might pass it on to something else. But I mean, if they were to close up shop and not do their job, I mean, everyone would be fucked. It would go real Mad Max real quick.
Yep.
Like you got hipsters up on Capitol Hill fighting over the last avocado toast or something. It's going to get really fucking weird. Not enough IPA to go around. Everyone will lose their fucking mind. Like, what?
On that note, what are you drinking tonight?
Guinness.
Okay. I'm on one of these Deschutes.
IPA. There you go. So if you weren't able to get that, I mean, you'd be all like road worried out. You'd have the mask.
I have, along with my American flag sunglasses, I have a hockey mask and a leather harness in my Amazon shopping cart right now.
The leather harness, I promise, is for post-apocalyptic needs.
It's not for anything else.
Not for anything else. Strictly to establish my role as a post-apocalyptic warlord. That is it. Don't ask about the leash.
And what's this thing? Oh, it's a back massager for when I'm the king of the apocalypse. Yeah, I need my back massager.
What are you talking about? What is this? We don't talk about that. That is restricted need to know information. Yes, it's called the sounding rod, but God damn it, you don't need to know about it.
Comics unofficially canceled. There's apparently a big war going on social media right now among comic book stores who are still, some of them still running, some of them not still running, but all of them still very active on social media. And then some publishers have been talking about, we're going to be moving to a mostly digital platform right now. So.
And it's smart. I mean, it sucks for, the amount of money that went into printing and all that shit. But I mean, digital right now, I mean, is always a valid option. I mean,
yeah, I think the worry though is the stores. So when you have like print comics, Courtney just got to the back massage your part.
Yeah, I can see it. I can see the chat now. If you go to like the live comments, you can see it. Speaking of comic shops that closed real quick, I saw that the Dreaming closed.
Oh yeah, that closed like 3 or 4 months ago.
I know. That's where we met.
Yeah.
Before we went over to the old Kraken. I think the Kraken was closed. We went somewhere. When we first met, we were at the Dreaming, and we were there at the same time. I had no idea we were both there at the same time. So I was like, oh, I just left there, you know? I like that place a lot. That dude was
trying to figure out if this dude with a birthday party back patch is the guy I've been talking to online.
I love that back patch. Like, every time I go anywhere, people are like, who know what that is? Or like, dude, that's fucking awesome. I'm like, it is. The birthday party is fucking great.
Yeah.
I was really sad to hear that he closed down. I always liked that guy. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, which is really shitty, but like anytime I needed something, like I was doing the Batman Max issues through him. And like I'd buy stuff. Every time I went there, I'd buy like a comic or I bought some games and stuff like that. So it was a cool joint. I really liked it for how small it was. And the name was fucking cool. I mean, come on. I think their logo is from Sandman, so there you go.
Yeah, that honestly, it kind of like it really sucks, especially because that place had been around for years. There's another Seattle comic store called Xanadu that closed down a couple years back, and they're another one that is like they were around for years, and it's really sad to see them close. It's really sad to see. I mean, even before this whole thing happened, just kind of it feels like I don't know. Not so much like the bottom falling out of the market, but it definitely feels like there's been less interest in comics and comic culture as things like because like I think like fandom as its own thing outside of being connected to things has really taken over. Like there's been a lot of things like you go to Emerald City Comic Con. There's a lot of people who are not going to Artist Alley at all. They're not interested in comics. They're not interested in comic creators. They're maybe interested in the movies based on comics.
Yeah.
And well, you know, I don't want to be the guy who like, you know, wants to like shit in everybody's cornflakes about you don't like the thing I like, but also it feels really sad to see these institutions that kind of meant a lot to people dying because the audience is more interested in, I don't know, Funko Pops or Netflix or something. I mean, that's probably a bad comparison to make.
It is. I mean, Netflix has done a bit to keep like certain comic book inspired stuff. Like they brought back Lucifer, which I remember reading those comics back then. The show wasn't too bad. I was glad to see Netflix bring it back. You know, Netflix did like the Daredevil and the other stuff, and we talked a while back about like my gripes about the Iron Fist, like how they got Danny Rand, like it was shitty. I don't know if it was the writing or the actor. But from what you were going off of with the whole Luke Cage season 2, where they had the different writer kind of revamped it, I'm pretty sure it was a writing thing. Like nobody needs to see another white rich dude cry and moan about life things that, you know.
Yeah.
Like, you're a fucking superhero, dude. Like, what do you want? Like, come on.
Yeah.
Chill the fuck out. But it's, I don't know. Like, it does suck, though, to see, like, Marvel and those big movies come out. You think people get really into the comics, and really they just like that. Because most of those movies are really just like a superficial look at those comic worlds. Like,
yeah, but they're incredibly competent action movies.
They're great. No, they're great action, but the full storyline. I feel like it's very superficial looking into it. Because I remember watching because I grew up reading like all the X-Men stuff, the Uncanny X-Men, the X-Force, and things like that. And I remember when I got to the story arc of which, you know, Days of Future Past was based off of, and that was such a bloody story arc. And I remember watching the movie in the first like 30 minutes, even though they redid it, you know, they went back in time. with the most bloodiest superhero movie I've probably ever seen. Because I'm like, wow, this is a lot like the comics. I remember watching a friend of mine. She's like, what the fuck? Everyone's like dying. I'm like, that's how it was in the X during this story arc with the Sentinels and stuff. That's what happened. Everybody fucking died.
That was the cover of that first page was, or the cover of that first issue of it was I think it was like Wolverine holding Kitty Pryde back with like a poster in the background of like all the X-Men faces and then dead, 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 captured, dead, 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 missing.
And even though that movie was pretty decent, they did a little bit better job with the X-Men movies, but it still didn't like really hone in on just how fucked up those comics were. Like the same with like Logan. Like I was expecting to see like the Old Man Logan arc with like the Hillbilly Hulk and stuff, because I was like, nobody's ready to see that on the big screen. You guys really want to see an incestuous Hulk clan, and then you want to see like all the other parts of the world that have been taken over by villains and stuff of like just the mass killing of everything. Although they did touch up on the fact that Wolverine, did kill everybody because, Mysterio or whatever. I'm not sure if they, I watched that movie once. Yeah. I thought it was pretty good. I don't think they did it as Mysterio. I think because Mysterio is the one that tricked him into like, these guys are all bad guys. And he wakes up and he's like, have killed like every fucking X-Men and superhero.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's a lot they couldn't do with that because, like, they couldn't use the Kingpin because he's part of the Spider-Man like universe at the time. They couldn't use like they couldn't use like Doctor Doom because, like, in the comics, like Doctor Doom owned like the third of America is like under control of Doctor Doom, and like you can't use him because, like, I think at the time they were trying to like relaunch the Fantastic Four, and there's like, well, we need to keep Doctor Doom over here in the Fantastic Four.
All of them under just one umbrella, so we can do the cool shit like that. Now that Disney's bought up most of that shit, now it would just be cool to see everything under one umbrella, so we can get those cohesive storylines. And now like, as cool as it would be, I really don't think America or anyone would benefit from seeing the incest Hulk side of Logan. But like, just then they could touch up on it because it could be a very brief like, this is what's happening. They can imply it. They can have like the little battle or whatever. But that entire other landscape of all the villains owning parts of America and stuff, Red Skull having like Captain America armor and shit that's all bloody and stuff that he just wore and shit like that. Yeah. All the weird shit he did, like stuff like that. That would be really
cool. Like the Venom Tyrannosaurus Rexes and stuff.
Yeah. It would just be really cool to like really go into like the deeper like comic universes instead of. And I understand, timing, budget, contract like that probably plays a factor in it. And that's why I feel like the animated comic book movies usually do a lot better because they're able to capture more of stuff. Like, the Batman one's really fucking good.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It'd be really cool to see all that shit under one umbrella so we can see like the full story. Maybe that might bring people more like, oh, this was in the comic? Well, yeah, fuck, go read it. It's cool.
Yeah. I think like one of the things that I really liked in like the adaptation world recently is I started watching Pennyworth, which is about so it's about young Alfred, except it's made by the same people who made Gotham, except it's not set in the same continuity as Gotham.
Yeah, because isn't he like this is like young right before he went over there, right? Because he was in his SAS or whatever.
Yeah, it was post SAS, but before he went to America with Thomas Wayne.
Nice.
And it's basically, oh god, like it's almost like a V for Vendetta type setting where it's like a vaguely dystopian version of 1950s, 1960s England, where it's like. We have these like crazy jazz clubs and all these like nice looking suits, but also for some reason we have like public executions and weird shit like that. So it's like
I'll watch that.
It's that, but it's sort of like it's basically like like James Bond in V for Vendetta kind of thing.
That'd be cool. How did you like Gotham though? I remember I haven't finished it yet, but I got pretty far in it. I remember liking it. I'm like, it's a lot more fucked up than I guess I realized because they really didn't pull a lot of punches on the TV show.
I really like, so I really enjoyed it because of how much they kind of leaned into the craziness of it. It's basically like they kind of like took the best parts of like the 1966 Adam West's Batman. They took the best parts of the Tim Burton movies, and then like a couple of ideas from the Chris Nolan movies, but not so much. And they kind of threw them all into a blender, and they made this incredibly campy but incredibly like dark.
It's way darker than I remember, because I remember watching it when it first came out, and then like most shows I'll watch, I'll either forget about it. But I went back like the last year and got mostly caught up, and I was just like stunned, like, wow, this show is way more darker than I remember it being, which is fucking great. They pulled off the Joker stuff, I thought, pretty well. It was a really interesting take on the Joker.
Yeah.
The fact that two twins and stuff. I was like, okay, well, that's cool, because you can get like both periods of Joker that people seem to like. You know, you got them both kind of in there. And then the whole Owlman like thing that, you know, I haven't got
the Talons and the Court of Owls.
I haven't finished it yet, so I don't know much what's happened. Last I watched, they were quarantined. They were like the government finally started coming back to Gotham after like the quarantine. But I was reading it, I'm like, wow, this feels like the Court of Owls. That feels like the Owlman thing, like the, you know, the weird offshoot Batman thing. And I'm like, that would really make a lot of sense if that's the direction they took him into. Like, wow, that would be cool. I don't know if they did or not, but
yeah, they did like a versions of the Court of Owls stuff. It was,
I thought was cool.
Very different. Cool. Yeah. It was very different from the way that they did the comic book storyline, because the comic book storyline was very much like Batman's been in operation for, you know, decades now, but he's never realized that this threat has been under his nose the whole time. And the TV show is a lot more. While they've been in Gotham for centuries, this is the first time. It was very much like, because of the nature of the show, it being young Bruce Wayne, the Court of Owls showing up was less of a big terrifying reveal and more of like, this is the new thing you got to deal with. Yeah,
it would have been cool to have been a little more of a terrifying reveal. But I mean, with him being so young, I mean, there wasn't much super like established that like he was already Batman. He was already doing all this stuff. So it's kind of an interesting place to have put that in there. Hold on, there we go. But I don't know. Like I just remember like reading the comments when I was younger, just how when you reach that certain threshold, like kind of we were talking about like with Batman, like the late 80s and stuff, it got super fucking dark, super fast. And that was pretty cool. That's what I remember a lot of comics about the late 80s, 90s. There was just so much darker than you thought they were. And I remember just reading random stuff like, what the fuck? Well, this is insane. This is wild. I want to read more of these. And then you get into stuff like Spawn and things like that, and you're just like, all right, fuck.
Yeah, some point in the context of this, I'd like to review Planetary. I don't know if you've ever heard of Planetary.
I don't think so.
Do you remember Wildstorm, like the Wildstorm comics?
Yeah.
So it was basically, they took like the concept of so there's the Wildstorm universe. They had like Wildcats, and they had Gen 13, and they had Stormwatch, and they had sort of all these kind of, I'll say like completely generic, but very sort of like broad concepts, superhero ideas. And then they started handing like all these broad concepts over to different writers. One of whom was Warren Ellis, who's I'm a big Warren Ellis fan. He does a lot of very he has like two major tropes. One of which is the hard drinking, hard smoking private detective kind of trope, and occasionally when he does superheroes, he just like, I'm just going to take my hard drinking, hard smoking private detective things, and it's like, oh, now it's a hard drinking, hard smoking superhero.
And he plays a mean fiddle too.
And the other one is like military political thriller type stuff. And they just basically gave him the Wildstorm universe, and they were like, okay, we got these sort of like kind of broad superhero universe. Do whatever you want with it. So he did this idea he did this series where it was a collection of basically archaeologists, or like I guess like archaeologists would be the best way of putting it, but like people who are trying to document the universe as it exists there. And it's basically the idea of the Wildstorm universe having these like 4 or 5 super teams in there. Okay, that's cool and interesting, but like what happened before then? What's happening behind all that? Like so he has all of these allegories for different where like in our universe there's things like Tarzan and Sherlock Holmes and Dracula. He has all of these sort of like Wildstorm versions of these, and he'll like go to the point of like writing like 30 to 40 year histories of concepts he's just come up with and is just referring to. So it's really, really interesting. It's sort of it's sort of
I'm looking at it now. That seems definitely gonna have to check this out. I know the Max one was on Wildstorm for a while there. I think it still is from Image.
Yeah, I think now it's done by either Dark Horse or Oni. He's moved it around 4 or 5 times.
I recognize Wildstorm basically because I'm going through and collecting the first the first issues, not the first issue, but the first volumes of the Max. And there's a Wildstorm version, and then there's like the regular Image version. So I have like the first two issues of the regular one, but it's a pain in the ass because all you can find is Wildstorm. And with Wildstorm, there was some differences in the comics, and so I've been trying to hunt down like the rest of the volumes for the Max on there, and it's kind of a pain in the ass everywhere I go to. People are just like, either I had a bunch of Max stuff and it's gone now, or like, I don't get them in very often, but when I do, it gets bought out. I'm like, man, I didn't realize people really like the Max that much. I do. I think it's a great fucking comic, but that's something we'll have to go into at some point and go into the Max.
I really like that. I think that that and just kind of both the artwork, the story, and then like the social aspects of the writing are really, really interesting to talk about. I mean, it's difficult too because it's sort of Sam Keith he has an interesting body of work after the Max that I'd like to like look at as well that I haven't had the chance to get into. Like he's written and drawn a whole bunch of stuff, and it feels a little daunting.
At one point too, I'm pretty sure he did like a Wolverine run too.
Yeah, I was
cool stuff. I think he did a Batman run besides the he did a Wolverine one a while back. He's done a lot of cool stuff, and I would like to definitely. I mean, we can kind of figure out, as we're testing stuff out, we can either be maybe cool to do things maybe by like artist, this month we're going to do everything by like, some stuff from like Alan Moore and stuff like that. Next month, Sam Keith. We can do things like that as we kind of figure out our own rhythm here.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That would be cool. And oh god, I really want to do Starman. Starman in the 90s was it wasn't a Vertigo comic, but it was sort of a Vertigo styled comic set in the main like DC universe, and it was just all about it's all about basically the idea of this like drunk 20-something hipster. His dad and his older brother were superheroes called Starman in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and now in the 1990s. Because of things to do with the storyline, like the dad's too old to do it, the brother dies, and it's like, well, you're the last of the Knight family, you're the one who has to be Starman. So it's like this guy who's like, all he wants to do is like, run his antique store and, bounce around bars, kind of having this like legacy of living up to like your family's expectations, but also like helping and saving people kind of thrust upon him. And kind of his way of like reckoning with that. It's a really really interesting, really human story about what like family legacy means, and like his relationship with his dad, and kind of his relationship with like, well, what does living in the city actually mean to you, kind of thing. Like it's a really, really cool. It also like it has one of the things I tend to really hate in comic book storylines is when they try to like redeem supervillains. I don't really like.
There's
I don't like good guy Harley Quinn at all. But
no, but there's a way to make villains like more relatable without like going that entire like, oh, I'm a good guy now. Like like we talked about, off stream the other day, just about Mr. God and the Max, how he had this weird redemption arc.
Yeah,
that somehow fits the whole thing, which is weird to see a serial rapist like get a redemption arc, but it fits for the Max somehow. Like I'm not condoning it in any way, shape, or form, but or I guess for that storyline, for somehow it just fits, and it's not like.
I think it fits because it's not like I'm a good guy now and everything's better. It's like I am having to reckon with and make amends for the shit that I have caused in my life. Which
pretty much, yeah. And that's always cool to see villains take on the more human aspect instead of just having what appears to be just an all like godless, no fear fucking villain that does whatever. It's cool to see like the more human side of them when they brought out, and, in a well-written environment instead of just like, hey, let's have Harley Quinn be a good guy now.
Yeah, the reason I brought that up is Starman, I think, had one of my favorite versions of that, where it was not so much like I'm a good guy now, rather than there's a character called the Shade who's like 300 years old or something, who's like he has no like moral compass aside from the thing, like he's lived in this, I think it was Star City. He's lived in Star City for like 150 years. He's seen it grow from like a small fishing village into like a giant coastal metropolis, and now this other villain is blowing up major parts of it. It's like that's my redemption story is like, this guy's blowing up where I live and where I like to like hang out. I'm now going to help the superhero because you're blowing up where I like to get a drink.
Hey, this dude just like blow up my fucking drinking joint. Like, I don't know what you guys are up to, but I'm about to go to his house and kick the shit out. Like, I don't even care. Whatever your protocol is, I'm just showing up and the dude's gonna die. It's really cool to see comics take on more of a really defined human element, just to kind of explore different aspects of humanity. Because I mean, it's kind of hard. Like, how can you imagine? Like, you've been alive for 300 some years. Of course, your moral compass is going to be a bit off because morality seems to change quite a bit in these giant gaps of like civilization. What was okay, back 100, 200 years ago, obviously isn't okay now. But I mean, it's really interesting to see like, how can you determine that type of moral compass?
Yeah, that's that kind of
that. Like, how could you embody that character without coming off too cheesy or like too like, I don't know.
Yeah, and they do a lot with that too. Like the idea of like you're like, if you over the course of your life see everybody that you know grow old and die over and over and over again, and you stay the same age, like what does that do to you psychologically? Like what? And it's like, you don't build emotional or like human connections with people until something happens that makes you need to.
Yeah, and you see life as a very fleeting thing to everybody else that's not you.
Yeah,
because it's like, nothing lasts except for you apparently. So it's just really interesting to try and get inside of that kind of inside that head, that psyche, to kind of like, how can I make this character relatable that just sees everyone dies and just, I don't care. Fuck it.
We're being called nerds in the chat.
Oh. Nerds.
Yeah, but I think like talking about stuff like that are one of my, and this is something we could probably talk about, is like if we've seen adaptations of things, because like I have now all 3 volumes of the Umbrella Academy.
I need to read this. I really liked the show. I thought the show was great.
I made the mistake of watching the show after, and like long after I'd read the first couple of volumes of it. And so like the show, after I managed to wipe my expectation of the comic out of my brain, I really enjoyed it. But it's very hard seeing this like very like like Netflix shows have a look now. They're very like they're cinematic, but it's very like darkly lit dramas, really. Whereas like
we don't have enough darkness in here.
Yeah,
really just
like, I mean that's the comic. Yeah. It's very colorful. It's very like these two are in it, but
yeah,
Hazel and Cha-Cha are in it. But that's kind of like the weirdest. They're sort of the weirdest thing in the whole book. Where like this is like, or like in the whole show, where the book has like the Eiffel Tower coming to life and like stomping around Paris.
It was. I really liked it. It was like with adaptations of that. Like I watched The Boys a while back, and holy fuck. Like I read the comics after watching it. I was like, I got to go through and read, like, because I have the volumes and stuff. I started reading. I'm like, wow, they cut out so much shit from this show, because basically it was him doing like an anti-preacher show, because he was just known for Preacher.
Yeah,
it was like, I'm gonna make an anti-preacher show, and it's just so fucked up. That entire premise is just the great premise, like superheroes, but what if they were just a bunch of fucking
like corporate douchebag, like in the like completely
yeah. And just like the things they kind of glossed over. Like I heard the second season's going to bring in his dog, which I'm really excited to see.
Oh, Terror!
Yeah, that dog is so great and so terrible. And just seeing, like, you know, I'm hoping they do that. But like I remember, like watching the show and the very ending, that whole twist of what happened. I was like, wow, that's really fucked up. Like,
yeah.
And the comics is a lot worse. It's way worse in the comics, and so. It's again, it still goes back to what I was talking about earlier about having like these adaptations hit the comics, like the actual scope of the comic realistically, and some do, some don't. Like some hit it perfectly, but also goes into mind, do I really want to watch something that I've already read, or do I want to see them take something I've read and, you know, do that kind of not really a fan service, but they kind of do it justice, but they kind of take their own spin on it. And there's some things out there that have probably done that pretty well. There's some things out there that do it really terribly, really bad. The Suicide Squad movie was fucking terrible. Nobody needed to see that.
I'm curious what the new one's going to be, because it's James Gunn. I haven't watched any of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, but James Gunn made a movie that I really loved back in the day called Slither.
Yeah, I love Slither.
Slither's so good.
I stumbled on that movie years ago when it came out. And I'm like, I'll watch this. It is fucking what's his face, Michael Rooker and Nathan Fillion, and it is just probably one of the best like alien monster or whatever the fuck movies I've ever seen in my life. It's the pacing's great, the dialogue's great, just everything about it is so nonsensical, but it's fucking hilarious. So they picked the right people for it, and I love Slither so much. I need to watch that again soon.
Yeah, that was one of the greatest lines I've ever heard. Is like just seeing this monster crawling across like the ground, and just like some guy is like, looks like something that fell off my dick during the war.
Watching Slither again soon. That's one I always forget about, and then I'll randomly see. I'm like, fuck, I remember this. This was great. I gotta watch this again. And
it was because like James Gunn got his start with Troma.
Yeah.
He wrote Romeo and Juliet, and I think he wrote Toxic Avenger 4 or something like that. But he was a Lloyd Kaufman protege. And he's really done he's really done good stuff with being a Lloyd Kaufman protege. I think he's probably the person who's come out of the Troma world who's done the best for himself. I guess Jeff Goldblum like started off I think Jeff Goldblum maybe I think it was like in a really, really early Troma movie. That dude's actually real chatty on social media, Lloyd Kaufman.
Is he?
Yeah, well, he's locked in his house right now.
Get him in here. Yeah, maybe. Hey, man, what are you doing? I know you don't know us. Let's talk about the shit you used to do.
Yeah, we'll get him in here and get him to talk about, tell us about Poultrygeist, Lloyd.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, yeah, let's talk about that for a while.
Yeah.
It'd be cool to get random ass people because nobody's doing anything. I mean, they have that whole Cameo app where you can get like, pay money, have actors say stuff. I wonder if we can just be like, hey, man, what would you do for like, 60 minutes maybe of just maybe even half an hour of just coming on this stream and just talking about yourself while we ask you really stupid fucking questions.
It would end up being like, if you remember Chris Farley on SNL, like the Chris Farley show, like, hey, you remember Class of Nukem High?
Yeah,
that was cool.
That was cool. Hey, that was awesome, man.
Do you remember Sergeant Kabuki, man? What was that about, man?
We gotta like when we figure out a format of what we're doing, we always gotta like toss in like one like really weird, small, like fucked up like comic series or something like. Something just kind of throw in there. Like, this is a really weird unknown one. Sergeant Kabuki.
Yeah. I've started like having like weird dreams about our current situation. Where like, oh man, what if like this like weird shit, like, oh man, what if Jonan Vasquez had it or something? I guess like, I mean, people are.
We need to see what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, he just put out that. Did you see the new Invader Zim?
No, but I did see the special, which was great.
The special, yeah.
He needed to finish Johnny, the homicidal maniac.
Oh, he did finish it. I mean, he brought the character back at the end of Squee, I think, and in I Feel Sick as like cameos. But I think he's just done with Johnny. I think he's
Which I mean, is to be fair. I mean, there's only so much you can take that dude, but
yeah,
I need to reread I Feel Sick then.
Yeah, he was in.
Squee was great. I used to have all the Squees.
Yeah, I wish he would do more comic stuff. Like he doesn't really like he doesn't. I think he only co-wrote some of the Invaders in comic stuff, and he's not drawn any of it, to the best of my knowledge. I think he's done a few covers. I think he's mostly he was doing a lot of production work for animation. So like a lot of like. Okay.
Music videos and stuff because he did like MSI.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, he did that.
If I was ever one guy to direct a music video, I'd hit him up and be like, "Here's a song. What's it about? I don't give a shit. Just do something. I don't even care, dude. The song's called about I love Jesus. I don't care. Just do something. Just make it work."
Yeah, that's a guy who I'm like really sad that we don't see more stuff from. I guess like if you ever go to the Emerald City Comic Con, I've
never been, but I need to. Like every time I plan to, usually work came up and shit like that.
If you have the opportunity to do it, do it. Go to it next year, or I guess later this year, if
it happens.
So like Ricky Simmons, who's the guy who plays the voice of Gur and did a lot of the art for Invader Zim, has a booth there every year. I think I can't remember the guy's name, but I think it's like Arthur Alexi or somebody. Let's see. Guy. Trying to look up the. Yeah, we're doing a lot of Googling. I don't know, it's not coming up, but it's another one of the Invader Zim artists. So they share like a booth with a couple other people, and they basically do. It's always the same place the same place all the time. So I just like started like mentally calling it Goth Corner.
Goth Corner.
Yeah, it's like everybody involved with Invader Zim, and I guess like one of the guys who drew a bunch of like Edward Scissorhands stuff. So what's his name? Oh, I have his thing over here. Drew Rosh also shares a booth with them, and he's done a bunch of like Edward Scissorhands stuff for Disney, and I guess he's also. I have like mutual friends with him on Facebook, and he was
Disney.
Sorry,
is Edward Scissorhand Disney?
Kind of almost everything Tim Burton's ever done has been Disney.
That's right. Like almost everything was Disney related. That's weird. Edward Scissorhands is Disney.
Yeah. So, but I have some mutual Facebook friends with him, and one of them started a question like, "Why didn't nobody ever make a Monster Squad comic?" And he was in it. It's like, I went to Disney, like, because like Disney had like a deal with like Oni or Slave Labor Graphics or one of those companies, and he was like, I came to them with a full pitch, full art for all the characters, and they were like, yeah. So like apparently like the people who own Monster Squad were looking for things that they could license out, but they were not interested in comics for some reason.
That's pretty stupid. I mean, considering how big comics, I guess in media, like with movies and shows and stuff, have kind of came, kind of blown up. But I mean,
I think the deal was that they didn't want other stories set in that universe that weren't going to be written because that was, oh God, who made it? Monster Squad was Fred Decker, who is so like Shane Black and Fred Decker. Shane Black is pretty infamous. Like he wrote Shane Black.
Isn't that the one dude that had a bunch of allegations on him? And so then what movie was that he was working on? They had to cut out some scenes.
Not him. It was a person who was in the movie. Yeah, he made the last Predator movie, though.
Yeah, the Predator one. That's what it was. They had to cut out a certain scene with that actor and one of the actors just because of the allegations with that dude. They really shut it down. That's where I remember that name from.
Yeah, I think it was like he hired one of his friends for the role. I don't know if you really realize the extent of what his friend had done.
Yeah.
But it's it was a bad move.
I think it's in the deleted scenes, but it's it was removed from theatrical release. I don't know. Yeah. We could always revive the Garbage Pail Kids movie. I remember that fucking movie. Watching that. I don't know, because when I was a kid, my parents would we recorded everything on VHS. So like I used to have VHS of like MTV, VH1, where they did all the music video stuff. They also would like record movies. I remember Garbage Pail Kids was one of them. I remember stumbling on that when I was like, God, I don't know how old. I was pretty fucking young. But like watching Garbage Pail Kids as a kid, it was pretty fucked up.
Yeah, that is just
I don't think I've watched it since, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't hold up. I'm pretty sure it's still a terrible fucking film. But when you're a kid, it's pretty fucking terrifying.
It's oh god! I remember I tried to watch. Did you ever see the Guyver movie?
Yes, the Guyver with the I remember watching that, and I got that mixed up with MacGyver because I remember when I was a kid watching Guyver, and I'm like, this is fucking great. Then I want to watch MacGyver. I'm like, that's got to be the same thing, and it fucking isn't. It's about a dude with a paperclip doing all sorts of weird, dumb shit. But it's not about the really awesome dude because Guyver had David Hayter in it, right?
Yeah,
David fucking Hayter was in it, and
Mark Hamill was in it too. He played a detective.
It was a cool movie. I remember just stumbling on when I was a kid, being like, "What? This dude has like blades on his arm and he's just fucking dudes up." Like, fuck yeah!
I got so like obsessed with my memory of that movie because I watched it. So I grew up in the UK, and when it was released over there, for some reason, for some completely unjustified reason, they named it Mutronics.
What the fuck? Because that's like Guyver, I guess. I mean,
but So I was like, I need to find this Mutronics movie, and then it's like, oh yeah, okay, it was called Guyver because the main character was called the Guyver. That makes more sense than Mutronics. So I bought it on DVD, and it does not hold up.
And you see my confusion as a kid when it's called the Guyver, and then MacGyver, and I'm like, must be the same thing. Fuck, was I disappointed that day watching that fucking show.
Yeah.
And I remember that pretty well. It was such a weird movie, and I'm positive, like you said, it does not hold up whatsoever. Like most of those movies didn't.
I really want to find so I remember when I was a kid, there was when anime first started being a thing over in the UK, they would put out VHS tapes of the Guyver anime, and it would be like I think 1 or 2 episodes per VHS tape. And I only saw a couple of them, and I remember being like scandalized how utterly violent it was. Because this was before I saw like Akira or anything like that.
Oh, shit. Anime? What is it, like a cartoon, like a Saturday cartoon? Let's watch this. What the fuck?
Yeah, like it was bloodier than the movie.
Yeah, I bet. It's like watching, growing up and watching all the Batman animated series and then being that age when fucking Mask of the Phantasm came out.
Yeah.
I remember that because I remember we bought it because it came in the big old black VHS and it came with the comic with it that you could read. Yeah. And I remember like watching like Adventures of Batman and Robin and Batman, you know, and all that shit. The Batman animated series, loved it. Still probably one of like the best series fucking ever. Like it was such a great fucking show. And then being like, oh, they put out a Batman movie, Mask of the Phantasm, PG-13. Well, let's watch it. And just basically fucking what a fucked up movie that was.
Yeah, so they're actually now producing, I guess it'll come out eventually after this whole thing is over, but the main writer of the original Batman the Animated Series, Paul Dini, is now putting together a comic book. It's going to be based specifically in that continuity. And it's going to be drawn by a dude named Ty Templeton, who draws not exactly like, but kind of like Bruce Timm.
Oh, fuck.
And I think he worked in like the production, like the production studio that made it.
Bring Bruce Timm back. He didn't die, did he?
No, he's still around, but he's running. So anytime you see like a Batman or a Superman animated movie,
yeah, he's doing
Bruce
all that.
Timm is running it. So like, I don't think he has time to keep up with a monthly comic book, unfortunately.
I bet we can get him to do it. Bruce Timm, you're not doing anything right now. You're in quarantine. You're like the rest of us fucking dudes in here. You're coming on the podcast and you're going to drop a Batman comic. Let's do this.
So there's, oh God, we should do this one too. So there's a book right now I really like called, it's called Batman White Knight, which is basically the concept of it is what if there was a pill that undid whatever damage was done to the Joker? So basically, the Joker is for the first time in his life, the Joker is sane. And so like this kind of like genius level criminal intellect is now on the side of the angels, but also he kind of recognizes all the damage that Batman does to society, like not like directly, but he starts like digging into so it's interesting to put it this way, but it's
like a worse villain than he was when he was insane, because now he can just like focus that like genius intellect on like.
So it's not that. It's basically he is now the guy who's pointing out all of the problems in Gotham City, and it is very inconvenient for everyone else. Batman obviously doesn't trust him because he's the fucking Joker. Yeah. He's killed hundreds of people. But at the same time, it's like, well, I did that when I wasn't on these pills, and now I'm on these pills. Also, like, I have a genius-level criminal intellect, so now I'm seeing how all of the criminals inside City Hall are operating. And so it's interesting because it's like one of the most like directly left-wing takes on Batman I've ever seen, because it actually starts getting into the concept of like if Batman was a thing, how would like power react? It's like, well, they would set up insurance funds to like cover damage caused by Batman, and then collect premiums on things, and like they would use oh, hey, Batman destroyed this part of the city. It's also the part of the city the poor people live in, so we have an excuse to expel them all from their houses. And so it has basically like Batman trying to reckon with the fact that, now, one of his greatest villains has somehow pointed out a thing he's missed, which has been like, he's been the tool for like 20 years of kind of like even worse villains, because they're, powerful politicians and business owners.
I'm looking at it right now, and
but yeah, let me see if I can just add it to this this stream here real quick.
Yeah, we can like share screen and stuff like that. That'd be cool to check out.
Yeah, let me drag it over here. And let's do this. So yeah, this is the artwork here, and this guy Sean Gordon Murphy is very, very inspired by the animated series. So this is Jack Napier. He used the original Batman or Batman '88 movies named for him with Harley Quinn. He even sort of he does an interesting thing with Harley where the Harley from the Batman the Animated Series, which is the one that we're looking at there.
Harley.
That's that Harley. The Harley that we see in the Suicide Squad movie in the modern comics is actually a different character. A woman named Marion Drew, who is it's another joke. It's like Harleen Quinzel is a Harley Quinn, right?
Mm-hmm.
Another archaic name for a clown is a Mary Andrew. So Marion Drew is the other Harley Quinn.
I was as a big fan of the Harley Quinn from the animated series because that was still one of the first series that she pulled out the whole recognizing she was in a shitty relationship and got out of it and stuff, and that was fucking great.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things I like about that character, but I've never really liked the redemption of Harley Quinn because it's always, I don't know, it always feels like they've done it a bit. Marvel does it a little bit. They had a character called the Absorbing Man, who was a Spider-Man villain. And the Absorbing Man was always an interesting character or not the Absorbing Man, the Sandman.
Oh, yeah.
He was, because he was in the movie. Let me just share I'm just going to go ahead and share more of this art from Batman White Knight.
Ooh.
But yeah, just you can see just from the way it looks, it is very much it's inspired by Batman the Animated Series, but it's a lot more detailed and a lot more it has this very there's an artist called Paul Pope who does a lot of heavy shadow work like this. Oh, but yeah, this would be good to look at because it's very much it's an out of continuity thing, so you don't need 50 years of Batman reading experience to get it.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of have to be, but he basically wrote it to be readable for anybody who saw the '90s animated series.
Nice. Definitely give that a read too. That looks pretty fucking cool.
But so Batman or not Batman, the Sandman in Spider-Man, because he had this very tragic backstory. They've done a lot of stuff where he's been. They've tried to redeem him in various ways, and they've tried to give him a they've tried to take the fact that he had a sad backstory and this blue collar background, and I guess it works sometimes, but they can never stick with it because anytime they need a villain, it's the Sandman's in the portfolio, let's make him bad again. And they try to do it with various different other characters. I think the stupidest one that they did was Baron von Strucker from Marvel, who is the son of a legit during the 1940s Nazi. It's don't try to redeem characters like that. I mean,
there's no reason for it. I mean,
so
why romanticize that way of thinking in life and just? Well, he decided he's a Nazi, but he's a good Nazi. He's a good Nazi. Well, he does things that are nice, I guess. I don't know.
They had an interesting story with him where he and a bunch of other supervillains, when a bunch of heroes in Marvel went missing during an event called Onslaught. They went missing after it. And so they took new identities and became fake superheroes in order to get access to Avengers technology and things. And then later on, all the other villains decided they liked being heroes and turned against him. That's an interesting story. But when you're having a character like Baron von Strucker, become a hero himself. It doesn't work. Not for me.
No, not at all. There's no reason to make that kind of a particular archetype like a hero. There's no.
Yeah.
You can have like a redemption arc, I guess, where I realize I'm a piece of shit and not do blah blah blah, and just have him at the end blow his brains out. I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, but there's no reason we don't need like a redemption of like every fucking villain to ever exist. But certain key villains would be cool to see more of the humanity side of it, like we talked about earlier. But we don't need. Let's pull up this random Nazi and give him a redemption story. But why? Like, why? He's a Nazi. Like, what
I think
need?
The only thing like that I think I really thought was interesting was when they had the Red Skull return to the Marvel universe in like late 2000s, where he was a clone of the original one, where he was a clone of the original Red Skull. They brought him back and they basically had him wake up in modern Marvel universe, take a look around, see mutants, and it's like, oh, I got to like renounce my previous beliefs because we have much bigger problems on our hands. So
he's not a Nazi anymore. Fuck this.
But it's like I have decided to put my previous bigotries on hold because I have a much bigger bigotry I'd like you all to help me out with.
Superman's fucking plot armor. No.
Yeah. It's like I can't believe I'm so worried about the Polish because look at all of these men with claws that pop out of their fists. Like,
what the fuck is that? I was just only concerned about the Poland, but there's this dude that has claws that pop out of his fist. What the fuck is that? Like, I need to really sit down and adjust my bigotries. Like, I got to make a list, like a pro and con list of. Yeah. All right, do I hate the Polish more, or do I hate this fucking dude that can't die with the claws out of his fist? Yeah. Let's figure this out.
Yeah, so that became like I thought that was an interesting that was an interesting storyline. And suddenly the Red Skull leading this team of like international supervillains because they all hate mutants for some reason.
I know, right? Like, I fucking hate mutants. Aren't you kind of a mutant yourself for a Red Skull? No more questions. It doesn't matter. No questions.
Yeah.
All you need to know is that we hate these guys now. Let's do it. That's all you need to know. It would be really fun to design a comic just in those kind of tropes just for the sake of just fuckery. Just like, let's design like a Nazi dude that decides to put his bigotry aside. What do you think would be the most pettiest thing for him to hate? I hate people that cut me in line. Fuck it. That's a new level of bigotry right there. And then you get this one dude like, nah, dude, nah. Like, Jews, Poland, nah, fuck that. That asshole that cut me in front of the line has done worse to me than anything else. And then just have a dude that his whole primary focus is just fucking with people that cut in line, you know. Just, it could be fucking funny.
Now, did you ever see the was it Monty Python had a series of skits about a man named Mr. Hilter who was clearly somebody else who was kept trying to like run for various like positions of power and just always giving himself away as to who he really is by when he would make a speech he would start screaming in German and
slamming it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got carried away there. I don't know what happened. Anyway, yes, we should have a more proactive stance on littering. I'm out of line here, but we should, you
know. Yeah, I think it would be good to do. But yeah, that era of the X-Men, I think it was Rick Remender wrote it. He did a lot of stuff. Like he would like always pick up like old left off plots, like. Have you ever read Age of Apocalypse?
Oh God, years ago I read Age of Apocalypse.
So he did like a thing where he picked up like what would Age of Apocalypse have been like 20 years after Age of Apocalypse, and it's like the new herald of Apocalypse is Wolverine, and like
questions we never knew we need answered are getting answered.
Yeah.
What would happen after the whole Sentinel uprising?
Yeah.
30 years later. Well, they would all be fucking dead. So It answers that pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean the modern X-Men right now, they're doing a really weird storyline where they basically had all of the mutants. They've now formed their own nation.
Oh, that'll work out.
And are now like so they because the nation itself is a mutant, so it's an island which mutated into a living creature. So it has the capacity to create these different like plant growths which can be used by humans to cure disease. So now they're like blackmailing the UN into recognizing their nation as being legitimate. And they're doing like things like, oh hey, so all mutants in the world, you can have like you can live here. Like what about the ones? What about the bad ones? Like no, they can live here too. What about the ones who are like in prison? We're gonna break them out.
We're gonna break them out. Like, don't worry about it. Wait, what? What was that? The UN's like, what the fuck was that? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
What about the ones who don't want to live with you? They have to.
They're going to.
Yeah.
Because we're putting out, the party house central here on this.
And now, like, yeah, and so now they have a thing. So they got basically all of the mutants working together, which is horrible when you get the idea of like, oh yeah, Mr. Sinister and Charles Xavier working together. So now death doesn't matter because Mr. Sinister can clone anybody and Charles Xavier can like imprint your mind onto a new body. So like anytime you die, he can resurrect you. They're doing really weird stuff. So like Wolverine is now like having to like hang out with somebody like Gorgon who killed him once. Like
awkward, like, hey man, don't I know you from somewhere?
Yeah.
Love you, dude. Who hasn't at this point in time? Who hasn't?
But yeah, it'll be it would be interesting to once the dust is settled on that whole run to look at that and try to see like what did it work? Because right now I think a lot of people are really mad at it.
Yeah, I'd just be
like nobody wants to see Jean Grey as like a supervillain trying to like make people give up their children to live on this island.
I mean, is Scott Summers still in there? Because that was my least favorite X-Men of all time is Cyclops.
There is now a three-way relationship with Scott Summers, Wolverine, and Jean Grey.
Because of course there is, because that's the only way they would allow that relationship to happen if Scott Summers somehow gets cucked in all of this. Because, I mean, what can he do to Wolverine? Like, I mean, I granted, like, I guess through recent, like, story arcs, like, they've become, like, he's not as much of a walking fucking idiot like he was way back when. But like, Cyclops is hands down like my least favorite X-Men. I think he's a walking idiot. I've never liked him. His portrayal in the movies were like fucking great because it just showed how incompetent he was as a leader.
Yeah.
But like, I heard they kind of gave him a better redemption. Like I haven't read a lot of the new X-Men stuff.
Not even really a redemption. They basically made
him not be a fucking idiot.
They did that, but they basically made him into Magneto too. Like he's hardline in a way that like only Magneto is. Like
that's fucked up.
Yeah, they made him like into a really, really like intense dude, which is an interesting way of going with it.
Well, shit. I guess I'll have to read some of that and see. Because I just remember being a kid reading like the old X-Men stuff, and people are like, I like Cyclops. I like Wolverine. I'm like, well, I don't fucking like Cyclops. Like, he's not great. And then, like, his whole, like, oh, Jean Grey died. Boo.
Yeah.
Oh, no, she's Phoenix and she killed me. Oh, no. Like, what the fuck was going to happen? Like, come on, dude. Like,
yeah.
Love didn't conquer all in that scenario. You got fucking obliterated.
Yeah, those I don't know. I liked the Phoenix Saga. That's one of the things in the movies they've never been able to stick the landing with has been the Phoenix Saga, and they've tried it twice now.
What did they try? They tried it with I didn't watch the new Phoenix movie because seeing it, like the trailers, I'm like, this is gonna be a pile of shit. Like I already know. Like Apocalypse was already not a good movie. Which is weird seeing like Days of Future Past and then First Class, which were really good fucking X-Men movies. I thought they were phenomenal. I thought the actors they got were great. Michael Fassbender as fucking Magneto was a great. great fucking choice. You know, they had some good stuff in there, and like I said, Days of Future Past was still one of the first comic movies I saw that was like, wow, everyone's dying in the first 30 seconds. Like, this feels like an X-Men comic.
Yeah.
Like, everyone's dying, and then they do the whole like, oh, I'm gonna go back in time and fix it. I'm like, well, that also happened in the comics, but it was cool to see that.
Yeah. So they did the story, and they also did it in X-Men 3, if you remember.
Yeah, I don't remember X-Men 3 as much. All I remember it being
you're lucky. There's not enough beer in the world to wipe that out of my brain.
I remember it being bad. I remember Kitty Pryde being in it, running through walls, and that's all I can remember from that movie. I remember it being bad, and her running through walls, and the Juggernaut chasing her or something.
Yeah.
That's all I remember, and I'm like, well, that's probably a good thing because the first few X-Men movies weren't great.
Yeah. The thing that they were trying to do with the most recent movies, with the Fassbender movies, was really odd because they've started. So, like the last of the newer X-Men movies, which was Phoenix, was set about 5 years before the first X-Men movie. Now, I know that they've rebooted the timeline a bit, but I don't see how Fassbender becomes Ian McKellen in a 5-year period.
Meth,
maybe
a lot of drugs. I don't know. Like that is weird. Like they kind of fucked up the timeline on that because it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And then where does Ray Parker fit in all this as Toad? Like, come on, man.
Yeah. Although I guess they also did a thing with the most recent Deadpool movie where he did a bunch of like time travel shenanigans, and that explains why everything's going a bit weird. So there's like multiple timelines. It's very confusing when you start getting into like multiple timelines. It kind of works in comics because there's so many comics you can explore ideas like that.
Like, this is Earth, like this, and this, and this is universe, this, and this. And so you kind of have a sense of, okay, so I know the different designations of which like timeline I'm in, which Earth I'm in, which universe I'm in. Sure, but when you do it in movies without that kind of like, hey, this is actually not this regular, this is other timeline.
They some of the animated movies have gotten it done okay, but just I don't know. It's difficult with. I think the thing that like makes it the most difficult with movies is just because you have this concept of actors can only play a role for so long, and sometimes they don't come back at all. Like you have to like recast them or restart things, and I think the big problem with a lot of stuff with movies has been, if you want to tell a story from, the past of Tony Stark, you have like a 5-year period before he's too old to actually play that. Whereas, a comic book or an animated movie, you're only limited by what your artist can draw.
And that's why I feel like a lot of the animated movies do a lot more justice towards a lot of the comic movies, is because they have that freedom of like a voice actor. I mean, even though they age, I mean, I still sound like the same fucking dude. Like, oh my God, I'm going to feel so bad. I just forgot his name. It'll come back. Kevin Conroy. Like, Kevin Conroy is Batman. As far as I'm concerned, Kevin Conroy is fucking Batman.
Yeah.
And, shit like that. Like, he can always play Batman in the animated series, and it's going to be Batman, Yeah. And the animated stuff, like the Dark Knight Returns stuff, was fucking great. Like, a lot of the Batman stuff seemed to translate better in animated versus like live action, where we got like the Nolan universe, which part of it was good and part of it was pretty not great at the last Nolan movie, what they did with Bane and stuff. And I'm like, I don't know how you switch ethnicities on Bane on the fly, but okay. Now he talks like an owl. Okay, that's fucking weird, but all right. They could have just got, I don't know, name a Hispanic actor to play Bane, and it probably would have been a million times better.
Yeah, they had the guy who played him in Gotham. Trying to remember his name. Was all right. I don't think he did the best job with. Let me just pull him up here. I don't think he did the best job with the role because half the time he was trying to. So they initially, So he was played by Shane West, who is, I believe, he is, I think, South American. And he played a character called Eduardo Dorrance, which, like, Bane's dad in the comics is a guy named Edward Dorrance. So everybody thought, oh, he's playing Bane's dad, but actually he was just playing Bane. He didn't do a great job when he was in Bane mode, but I thought he was great when he was playing, like, Eduardo, this, like, Delta Force crazy soldier who had his own, like, horrible mission going on in the background.
Yeah, just Bane was, like, in the comics, he was a genius. He was a genius, and he was built like a brick shithouse. So, and that's the thing for me, is being able to see that both the combination of he is a fucking genius and he's physically fucking just a badass. And so it's I don't know, it's been hard for them in live action to really capture both of those attributes.
Yeah, I'm just looking up. Yeah, he was played in one of the animated or one of the animation voices. He was played by Carlos Alzaraki, who's best known. I mean, he does a lot of stuff, but he's best known as Deputy Garcia on Reno 911.
Yes. We're watching all those recently.
Nice.
All the old Reno 911.
That's one they're bringing back, actually.
They are,
Reno 911. There's that Quibi app, which is going to be like, for your phone.
Mm-hmm. What app is that?
So it's called Quibi. It's going to be basically videos formatted specifically for your phone, and they're going to be like less than 10 minutes per episode. So it's going to be here's a thing you can watch on the bus kind of thing.
Well, you can't go on the bus now, dude. So what the fuck are you going to do? Quibi just fell flat on its fucking face. When am I going to get out of bus? Not at all. I drive.
Yeah.
So like just fucking make a full production of it.
Yeah. I think one of the things which really kind of surprises me about Disney buying out Lucasfilm was the fact that they haven't decided that they want to make animated movies based off of any of those properties aside from Star Wars. Like I know they bought Lucasfilm for Star Wars, but
mm-hmm.
I don't think I want to see another live action Indiana Jones movie with Harrison Ford being the age he is. I don't think he could do a lot of those stunts, but I would watch the hell out of some animated Indiana Jones movies, and he could still do the voice without a problem.
Oh yeah, just get rid of Shia LaBeouf and I didn't watch Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and from what I've read, it's probably a good idea that I ever watched it.
Half of it was good, and the second half of it was utter crap. Like it was. I didn't hate Shia LaBeouf's character as much as everyone else seems to, and I like I like some of the characters they brought back for it. I thought like it was kind of a very good Indiana Jones Last Stand kind of thing. But yeah, I think there's a way they could have done the Crystal Skull alien thing and have it work a little better than they did, but they just tried to put aliens into the standard format of an Indiana Jones movie, and it didn't work. Like they had a whole thing about the early ones were based off of adventure serials, so they're all going to be sort of like magic and shootouts and things like that. And then the new movie was going to be based off of 1950s sci-fi movies. And when I read that, I was like, oh, that's a really interesting spin. That sounds like a cool idea. But then I watch it, and it's like, no, you just took an Indiana Jones movie and you put aliens at the end of it for no reason.
No, this is bad. This is bad. Abort. We're done.
Yeah. I would watch The Thing from Another World with Indiana Jones in it. I would absolutely watch that. But, yeah.
But will it be good?
Yeah.
On who does it?
But I don't know. I think they're really dropping the ball with a lot of the Lucasfilm properties that are not Star Wars. They had
Monkey Island. Come on, guys, let's bring that out. That's Lucas Arts.
Yeah, if I want to put it out there. I want to write a Monkey Island comic book. I desperately want to write a Monkey Island comic book. Like I've been playing those games since I was a kid. I've got the humor embedded into my brain. I desperately would love to make a comic book based on it.
I'm gonna be going through that again. I grew up playing stuff like that and like King's Quest from like Sierra and stuff like that. And oh my god, or Space Quest, which was man, if someone did like a Space Quest comic, Space Quest was fucking great.
I don't like Maniac Mansion could you could turn that into a sitcom. I think that would do amazingly, especially since they have that Disney Plus streaming service. Like a Maniac Mansion sitcom would be fantastic. Just like this mad scientist family and their 2 pet tentacles is like it's the amount of like comedy you could pull out of a premise like that. I think is great.
There we go. Let's do a Maniac Mansion comic.
No, that'd be very, very cool.
Speaking of comics, you actually just put out a comic.
So Keepsakes. I don't know if I have a copy of it around here somewhere, but for anybody watching this, if you hit up my Twitter, which is Bond's got a copy.
Yeah, I still have it. I got the poster too.
That's awesome.
I haven't even pulled it out because I have the digital copy. So no, I loved it. It was great.
Thank you. Yeah. So for anybody watching, it's basically the premise is it's sort of like the horror anthology movies that were popular back in the day and are getting popular again. Things like VHS and like the new Creepshow, which is really good if you haven't seen it. Watch Creepshow.
Creepshow is fucking great.
Yeah. But
Creepshow 2 was all right, but Creepshow, the first one.
Yeah. Have you seen the show though?
No, I haven't.
On Shudder. Oh, okay, check out the Creepshow, the show itself. It's one of the best, I think. Like
I have
Resurrection.
I'll watch it.
Yeah, it's one of the best like resurrections of like the Tales from the Crypt formula I've seen. They do really, really well with a really low budget. It's a really, really cool show. But Keepsakes is basically my take on that. It's a collection of different horror stories with another horror story as kind of a connecting scenes. And we got a lot of really great artists working on it. I put it up a couple weeks ago on Gumroad. So if anybody's watching this, you can go to my Twitter at ritual_83. It's on the little tag by my name here. And I'll have a link to the Gumroad there. And I just got the notice 2 days ago that it is going to be up on Comixology very soon. So they're taking the PDF and they're turning into that guided view thing, so you can flip through the individual panels.
That'd be badass. I'll check it out on there too.
Awesome.
I really liked the the letters with the gas station. That was probably my favorite part of the whole comic was the gas station. The weird. I don't know for what reason that still is just ingrained in my head. Like reading, I'm like, that's so fucking great.
That was like the style was a little borrowed/stolen from a couple of writers I like called one called Thomas Ligotti and another called Matthew Bartlett. But they do like weird horror, but instead of like the regular like H.P. Lovecraft, like men being exposed to cosmic horrors they were never supposed to understand. These two dudes do like the lurking horror underneath the facade of like modern Americana. So like what do you see in backwoods towns? It's like the idea of like, oh yeah, a gas station, but like a series of gas stations that are run and operated by horrifying, potentially not even human people has been sitting in my head for a while, and it was cool to get it out there.
It's really cool to kind of hear the process of kind of how you came with that, kind of borrowing it, but just the whole like, what can I take out of this that would just still be unsettling, but just common everyday thing. Because like road trip across the country, I see a bunch of gas stations, probably a gas station chain that comic.
So I mean, I've moved around the country quite a bit. I lived in Florida for like 10 years. I lived in Pennsylvania for a couple of years. I moved up here. And just like when you drive to a different part of the country, you will have like local chains that don't exist anywhere else. Like the Northeast has this gas station chain called Sheetz, which you don't see outside of the Northeast. It's just, I don't think they even have them in the major cities in the Northeast. It's always in the backwoods areas or the just off the highway kind of areas. Like Sheetz, it's sort of like it's just kind of your general 7-Eleven thing, but it's just the idea of like, I don't know, because so much of the world feels really connected right now due to the internet. It's really interesting to sort of realize that there are things that we see on a day-to-day basis that, somewhere, there are things like in Seattle we have Bartels.
Yeah.
Florida doesn't have Bartels. New York doesn't have Bartels. Like Bartels is a local chain that we only have it up here. So when you say like, "Hey, I'm going down to Bartels to pick up some toilet paper or something," it's only people who live up here are gonna recognize that. So that's just a very interesting thing of like in our super connected world, what don't people have the ability to relate to?
What kind of falls through the cracks of, how everything's connected, the weird things that kind of like, oh yeah, I know this place. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? I've never heard of that in my life,
Yeah. And there's I don't know if have you ever gone to either a Raleigh's or a Checkers?
No, I don't think so. O'Reilly's?
No, Rallies, like RALLY''S.
I don't think so. I'm gonna quickly look that up. Like a burger place, basically.
Yeah.
Checkers and Rallies.
Yeah, so it's really weird. It's the same.
Never heard of that. Yeah.
Same like chain burger restaurant in the southeast. It's called Checkers. In the Midwest, it's called Rallies'.
There's nothing over here in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, there's nothing up here, but it's like, why would this company have different names just in 2 states apart from each other? That's so weird that like you have this like local naming convention for one thing, and then the same thing is somewhere else, and I don't know, that always struck me as a very weird, very American thing coming over here, being like, yeah, we sort of like the idea of like, yeah, we're all part of this big megacosm of America, but so much of our local world is very specific to our experience. It's really interesting, like, because you're swamped with, it's almost like the worst of both worlds. You're in a little town, but you also have all the shitty parts of being in like a mega, a country the size of a continent, basically.
It's like you have like Hardee's and Carl's Jr. Hardee's.
Oh yeah, it's another
Carl's
one.
Jr. over here is just Carl's Jr. Some people were telling me about Hardee's. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Oh, they have this stuff. I'm like, you mean Carl's Jr.? Because it does say like Hardee's, Carl's Jr. But over there, like Savers and Value Village, things like that. Just, for whatever reason, I guess if we get drunk or high enough, I guess we can like try to hunt down the reason why they changed these names in between these geographical locations.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't understand why just one, Carl's Jr. is just fucking Carl's Jr. But Savers is Savers, Value Village or whatever.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of like cool little geographic hotspots that aren't available anywhere else. Like over here, we used to have Hastings, which wasn't anywhere else. It was mostly like this area, kind of like Spokane. I want to say some of Idaho had it too, and through most, not all the way up to Western Washington, but like halfway through Eastern Washington, I think had some. I think Wenatchee might have had one, but basically this is a multimedia store. Basically, I sold like nerdy stuff, records, music, posters. You can rent movies, video games from. Big old store that closed down probably about the time I moved back, about a year or so ago. Closed down everywhere, which was great, which sucked. But it was kind of cool because I bought like a lot of cool vinyl for super cheap. Like I got like a couple Boris albums for like under $20. They're like Heavy Rocks and what's the other one I got? I got another one from them too. Hope Attention, I think it was called. I can't remember, but I was able, like, with its last like dying breath of like being around, I was able to buy a bunch of vinyl for super cheap from them. But it kind of sucks because I would be in Seattle and tell people like, oh, I miss Hastings. Like, what the fuck is Hastings? So I'm like, oh, it's a big place. They even have like an area where you can get like coffee and shit too. It's like a bookstore and a music store and a video rental store and a nerd store because they sold comics and shit. They used to have like variations of like certain comics covers and vinyl the Corn. I picked up a Corn Issues vinyl there that had like the orange, like translucent record that you can only get at Hastings apparently. So there was some like Hastings exclusive stuff, and so
it's cool.
Really weird to hear things like that in other places, like especially like Seattle. Like no idea what the fuck that is. Like they don't have that there. It sucks that they're all closed down. I think they've all been. I don't think any of them have been repurposed yet, but actually one in Idaho has. It's like another Entertain Mart or whatever it's called now, which is funny because I don't go to Idaho often because fuck Idaho, but we're like 20 minutes away from Idaho over here.
Yeah,
pretty state, not the best class of people.
Yeah, I only went there once, and like I just drove through it when I was moving to Seattle. I think I spent the night in Boise, and that was it.
Boise's great. Boise's the only part of Idaho that I've lived at that I like a lot, just because Boise is so different from Idaho. You go to like parts of Idaho, and there are some good people in Idaho. Not like I want to shit talk an entire state, but like like northern Idaho has a lot of like you go to gun shop, there's a lot of Nazi memorabilia and stuff. There's like the Aryan compounds, a lot of things like that. A lot of small cities that are like. But Boise was like the most progressive place in Idaho I've ever been to. I moved there when I was like 17, 18, played in a bunch of punk bands and stuff down there and stuff. And Boise's cool, but like a lot of parts of Idaho, as pretty as they aren't super great. But they redid the Hastings over in Coeur d'Alene to like this Entertain Mart or whatever. And for like what was it, my buddy Tommy's birthday, I found him a DVD copy of like Brain Scan and stuff and some other, which was weird. I was like, wow, these guys have like Brain Scan, and they have like some like older DVDs that are hard to find. That you can't just find anywhere. They had some good shit there. So it's cool to see them kind of take that and like kind of do the same thing with, but it definitely doesn't feel like Hastings. It feels like a sham, like a shell of what once was that they're trying. I think they pretty much bought all their like shit they had there, all their product, and just renamed themselves and just started selling it. So.
All right. Well, I think we are coming up to the end of our second hour here, so I think I'm going to go ahead and cut this short. It seems like the stream freaking worked, though, so that's good.
Yeah, it seemed to work really well.
I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to try to figure out how to play music so we can have a theme song. It is almost definitely going to be that Macho Man rap song, Be a Man.
Nobody has ever heard this. Macho Man released an album in 2003 called Be a Man, and it is the most glorious thing you'll listen to in your entire life, especially in these trying times. It's good to know that Macho Man can bring us some sort of semblance of normalcy and happiness in an otherwise post-event world.
Yeah, for anybody that's catching the end of the stream, we have to refer to it as the event and not by any of the regular names which we have been given, because and I kind of understand why they're doing it. It's basically because they don't want people to be able to put a bunch of like lies about the event on YouTube and then like make money from like stressing people out about it. They won't be like, oh yeah, like Arcadian Vanguard 1 has like all of the secret information that the government wants to hide from you about event.
Next live streamer, we wearing plague mask and just saying a bunch of wild shit about the event. So
yeah, I don't know. I would like to not become one of those YouTube channels.
I'd rather not. They're like,
it's like, here's what the globalists aren't telling you about event.
Toilet paper. Where is it?
You gotta hoard your toilet paper. You gotta hoard your MREs. You gotta buy all of my supplements from Infowars.gov.
Where I keep my toilet paper directly up my ass. Nobody can get it. The government can't get it. I wrap it in tinfoil. I shove it up there. I give it a twist, because you always got to give things a twist just to make sure it's locked in, and that's how you do it.
All right, man. I'm gonna let you go here, and so you do this again, maybe same time Saturday.
Yeah, looks like Saturday we'll do our official, like, this is just a test episode to make sure things work, how things will run on here. I think Saturday will be the first, like, we're going to actually talk about something instead of just jumping all over the place. So
yeah, we're going to be doing the Killing Joke by Alan Moore and Brian Bolland, released, I believe, in the mid 80s, late 80s. I think the late
80s. Yeah, it was about 88. I think it was
88. We'll talk about a little bit about. Courtney's in the chat. We'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about probably the life and times of both Alan Moore and Brian Bolland. Alan Moore, probably a little bit of Alan Moore's hectic relationship with DC Comics. Probably talk a little bit about his hectic relationship with a lot of people, and his interesting religious choices.
Which is probably, in the grand scheme of religious choices, it's probably the best religious choice. In fact, I'm thinking about converting my entire family to his religious choice, because why not?
Yeah, if we got to make glyconism the religious choice of the post-event world.
We do. If you guys already aren't getting on this post-event, I don't know what to tell you. You're just fucked.
Every day brings us further from the light of Glycon. We need to get back to simpler times, man.
Glycon we praise.
Yeah, we'll be talking about that and probably drinking a lot more.
Yeah, I've had a couple Guinnesses and a whole thing of tequila and orange juice. So, I mean,
yeah,
it's going to be a lot of drinking, a lot of talking, a lot of good stuff. So,
yeah, we'll figure out.
Might even have a theme song by then. Who knows?
Very well may be by our man, the Macho Man, Randy Savage.
So yeah. Cream always rises to the top. I want to find a bootleg of that album. I'm going to.
Before we go, there's this. I got to tell you about like just the greatest. I was thinking about it the other day when we were talking about this album, but like the greatest Macho Man promos were right at the beginning. I think right after the first WrestleMania, he had a feud going on with a guy named Tito Santana, who's also like a legendary wrestler. I think Tito's still around. Like he still does like seminars and stuff. But like he would grab a prop off stage and just bring it on camera. And it's like, why do you have this trash can out there? It's like, oh, you know what's in here, brother? Nothing but garbage. And that's what you are, Tito Santana.
His entire interviews are nothing but gold. The cream where he pulls out the coffee creamers.
No, you cup of coffee. Maybe you bring in a newspaper, and it's like, what? Why do you have a newspaper there, Macho Man Randy Savage? You know what this is, mean, Gene Oakland? Yesterday's news, and that's what you are, Tito Santana.
I point my finger. But there's this one interview that Tommy showed me with Jake the Snake doing he recounted an interaction he had with Macho Man, and Jake the Snake can do the Macho Man voice perfect. It's so good, and he's talking about the time where they had to go against each other, and Macho Man had to go against the Snake, and it is, oh my god, I gotta find the link for it.
Shit, you're talking about. I just saw this the other day. It was on Dark Side of the Ring. It was like, the Cooper you got there. It's fixed, right? It's like, Jesus Christ, of course it's fixed.
Yeah, it was that one. So it was basically that whole thing. He was on Joe Rogan being like, yeah, of course it's fixed. Maybe it has. It just pretty much makes him bite him. It just sits there like, don't take no elixir, no antidote, no, and we're just gonna watch and wait. Like, sorry, I fucking disappointed you. Well, like you're okay.
Seems like you're okay.
Macho Man.
Who's paranoid, man? But he's a legend. A legend.
That interview and then his Space Ghost Coast to Coast cameo.
His dad.
Thad Ghostal, so fucking great. Macho Man, I wish he was still alive. It would be the only person that could play Lobo. The only person that could legitimately play Lobo, and nobody would bat an eye. They'd be like, all right, I could see that. Fuck it. He's built like him. He talks like him. It's Lobo. So
I didn't see Krypton where they actually had Lobo.
I didn't either, but I saw the article where they got the Lobo on there, and I'm really scared to YouTube how they did Lobo because I'm pretty sure it's terrible.
Yeah, probably.
I heard Krypton was good though. I never watched it though. I'm not a Superman fan, so I'm not a big fan of plot armor. And Superman has a lot of plot armor, but it was cool to see him eventually, die and things like that. But
I got one. I got one we should watch. Sorry, one we should read, and maybe not the next one we do after the Killing Joke, but maybe a few down the line. It's called All-Star Superman, and it might change your opinion about Superman. Because it is very much like putting Superman up against impossible odds, and like it just basically shows like the difference between Superman and Batman. It's sort of like where Batman is like pessimism weaponized, like Superman is optimism. Even in the face of like,
because he got plot armor, I'd be optimistic as fuck if I had plot armor.
The end of All-Star Superman is Superman dying. And that's like the point of it. It's Superman's like last adventures before he knows he's gonna die. And it's like what do I gotta do? Like it's like what is the way that Superman's gonna die? Well, Superman's gonna go out trying to save the Earth like he always does.
Yeah, I mean,
and it just kind of but it goes into like what will the absence of Superman mean? What will it mean to like Lois Lane? What will it mean to like Jimmy Olsen? And especially like what will it mean to Lex Luthor to like not have this? Because like Lex Luthor's whole thing is like, if Superman wasn't around, I could have saved the world. I could have completely changed it. And it's like, well, we don't believe you because you haven't.
Your actions have shown otherwise.
Yeah.
But other than that, Batman kind of rises. I mean, he's already kind of top of the Justice League poll, but I mean, he kind of, Batman's kind of rises a little bit more, I guess. I don't know. But we could definitely look at that. So
it's right from the start, it is like, the plot armor Superman has gets yanked away from him because he suddenly has to go up against things much stronger than whatever armor he has.
Yeah.
But yeah, we should definitely do that. We should do Red Sun, which I think is would be timely since they're also doing the cartoon version of Red Sun. I'd like to see that.
I'll have to check that out. No, yeah, we can definitely do that. We'll be doing Saturday about the same time, about 7 p.m. PST. We'll do Killing Joke. We'll jump into that. We could probably talk about the comic. I guess we can talk about the movie if you want. Have you seen it yet? You saw
it? I haven't seen it yet, but I can. I can rent it. And,
we can kind of compare them two, I guess, and see. Because I mean, there's already a lot of things that I'm already like, fuck that part of the movie. But the movie itself wasn't too bad. It was just the beginning area, which we can get into.
Yeah. Yeah. We can do like that Saturday. Maybe we can like make like a weekly thing of it with like a possible side chat for like an hour or two during the week.
Yeah. Yeah, we can do like a weekly where we do something and maybe something during the week where we're just like kind of what we're doing now. Just kind of going over what's what, kind of cover some maybe like multiple little comics or the other areas and then like kind of like save like, the weekends where we do like the big stuff like Killing Joke and the Superman and the Max and other things like that, where we can dedicate the whole time to this, what we're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Introduce Magpie to everybody.
She loves to jump on my lap when I'm talking on video chat and immediately wants to like bite me for not paying attention to her or for paying attention to her while I'm talking.
Yeah, Abby's been behind me like on the bed, just kind of like nipping at me. I don't know where she's at now. She kind of disappeared, but she might be in her bed. But she's been sitting behind me for quite a while, just like trying to get my attention. So you'll probably see the cats on stream at some point. You'll probably hear one of the cats because he's a Maine Coon mix and likes to scream. He announces himself. Doesn't matter what it is. He's going to trill and he's going to scream as loud as he can because that's just what that little boy does. He's a big cat too. Pretty fucking big.
All right, man. Well, I will talk to you around, and we'll end it here. I'll keep this up for posterity's sake. We'll move it to the new channel when we're able to, and I think I'll put a link to the actual channel because this is on mine.
Yeah.
The link to the actual channel in the notes for this video after we put it up.
Yeah, we'll probably work on a website maybe, but we'll probably have a theme song and stuff coming up. Yeah. Who knows? We'll see what happens between now and Saturday. But any other constructive criticism or comments anyone has, feel free to send us. Let us know.
Yeah.
What we could have done better, what we could do, you know, what we shouldn't do. If you hate us, that's fine too. We'll still keep doing it because fuck you, but you know.
All right, later, man.
You have a good one later.